Hello everyone and welcome to week 4 of the Aegis Marauders League. Once again, my name is Tokivi and joining me once again is Quaxon. How are you doing this fine evening?
Doing pretty good. We have officially rounded the halfway point of the AML regular season, so I think a lot of teams, particularly the ones in the middle to upper echelon, are beginning to think about those playoffs. This is week number 4, and so next week will be kind of that final week before we get those playoff seedings and those deciders going in week number 6. So we're getting down there, Toki. And, you know, we talk about middle of the pack. We talk about teams that are kind of on that upper echelon. And these are two teams that match that description, I would say. It's Final Boss BBQ Chicken against WiWiWi Cat. Of course, loving that meme as I am a cat owner myself. But yeah, WiWiWi Cat is currently 1-1. They actually have a double header this week as they had a reschedule. So they will be playing 2 games, another one on Thursday, which means we got to be talking a little bit about endurance and maybe not getting worn down, as 2 best-of-3s can take a toll on you. But we're going to take a look at Final Boss BBQ Chicken first, who are 2-1 and tied with Dorado Gaming Z and Hextech Hackers for first in the Piltover standings here, Toki.
Yeah, and we have on the roster Nutty in the top lane, Venom in the jungle, Paradox in the mid lane, Duck on AD carry, and Campo on support. And kind of like you said, tied up in that first place with Hextech Hackers and Dorado Gaming, and in fact beat Hextech Hackers and lost to Dorado. So we can tell already it's a very close top 3. So let's see if WiWiWi Cat can try and make this a close top 4 instead, as we are going to be seeing their players. And that's a fantastic logo. I was not ready for that. But we got Night Ravens in the top lane, Conceit in the jungle, Ratchet in mid lane, Pengu on AD carry, Rainy Days on support, and Bondi being the sub.
Yup, and WiWiWi Cat, I'm also a big fan of it. That art style gives me a very big it reminds me of No David. Do you know that book, Toki, where he's like a really evil kid and he's doing all of this stuff, and every time he's doing all this bad stuff, his parents are like, no, David, and he has to go away. At least that's what it reminds me of, some of those children's books. But yeah, this is also a team that you know, like I said, is currently 1-1. So a win here, I think, would put them in the conversation of top 3. A loss here, though, would really separate that gap between the top 3 and the bottom 3 in the Piltover standings. This is something that we warned against toward the beginning of the regular season, how you want to be on the right side of that gorge between the top and bottom half of the teams. As it seems like in every single division, there is a very clear divide. So I think that WiWi Cat have a chance to bridge that divide, and it's really going to have to be about them performing in this series, Toki.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a very important game for them, because if they win this, they're actually going to be in the top 3, because they'll have the head-to-head against Final Boss BBQ Chicken. So this is a very big game for them. And at the same time, it's big for Final Boss BBQ Chicken, because if they win this, they create that gap. You know, they get put even further up above. So going to be a huge match tonight. And just a little side note, I did learn that it is not pronounced Nutty. From Final Boss BBQ Chicken. It's actually Nute, so apologies for that.
Yep. Okay. Nute. I'm going to write that down right now. Make sure that we don't make that mistake here on broadcast. But yeah, as we go into the draft, it is worth noting that this is 25.21. So we are on a new patch compared to what we had last week. I don't see anything too impactful, particularly in like the competitive landscape and the competitive meta. The most I would see, obviously we did have the Gwen adjustments, right? Giving her a little bit more damage, making her a little bit more glass cannon-y rather than a bruiser. And then the Graves adjustments, which I actually think have been really good for the champion. I'm a Graves enjoyer myself anytime I can play him. So I have been thoroughly enjoying the character over the course of this last patch. Some other things like Diana nerfs, Kiana nerfs in the jungle could impact some of these more aggressive players and some of these more aggressive picks coming into this series and into the final weeks of the regular season. But I'm gonna be honest with you, Toki, haven't seen a ton of Kiana here in the AML, to my surprise. I think the champion's really good. But yeah, like I said, nothing too big, but maybe the biggest change is that we got the Biko skin. I personally, I don't play Nico, but I like the skin. Might try to buy it, though I've never been a fan of the B skin line.
I mean, it's B's in my name, so I gotta say, always been a huge fan of all of them. One of my favorite skins in the game, unfortunately, is BMO. Obviously, that's not something you can really pull out too often.
That's
at
a
least
fair one, though. Like, people don't like a lot of the Teemo skins. I am in a relationship with a person who is like an artist, and so they take a lot of interest into the League skins. They hate all of the B skin lines except for BMO. So I feel like I'm obliged to agree with you, Toki, as we are finally starting up the bans. WiWiCat have banned away the Thresh, and then we can see Final Boss targeting a lot in the jungle, both Udyr and Pantheon being snagged away here from Conceit.
Yeah, and we're going to see the Gwen get banned away as well. And like you said, she is going to be slightly weaker now with this latest patch, but at the same time, metas don't really shift too fast after patches. I think that's one thing that we've definitely noticed, especially when we go lower and lower through the elos. People just kind of stay at whatever's comfortable, and then there's kind of that slingshot effect where after a little bit, then we start seeing the changes come through, unless it's something that really gets nerfed or really gets buffed, where we'll see the real changes. But to that effect, we are going to be seeing Wukong still first picked here by Final Boss BBQ Chicken. Definitely been in the meta for a while, but also definitely hasn't been changed, so should still be a very strong champion.
Yep, Wukong classic. Probably, you know, if I were to take a guess here, WiWiCat respond with a jungler of their own. They either go the magic damage route and try to subvert the stone skin, or they can go for something similarly aggressive like the Volibear, who I've seen that a classic counter to Wukong, a champion who is really there when it comes to level 6s and doesn't really come online until that ultimate and that Trinity Force give him that spike. A big thing that a lot of teams like to do is just go champions that can impact the map before he hits that, right? So I think Volibear definitely fits that bill, along with other champions like Jarvan, where you can use that Q, get into the lane, you can use the Sky Splitter to slow up the targets, and then when you have that Stormbringer, you can bring the Storm and win a lot of those 2v2s. So definitely like this from WiWiCats to go the Volibear. And then they're going to go for the Corki. So also just padding in a little bit more damage. I think Volibear is good at creating that space, but I do want to see, especially if we're going Corki and we're relying on this champion who is very short range, we need things that can make sure that distance is covered and that they can actually get to that backline as Final Boss.
Yeah, and with that, they are going to take the Camille, which in theory can remove one person. Obviously not how you want to play Camille, but haven't seen one in competitive in a very long time. Now, it is going to be into the Scion, who was locked in for Final Boss BBQ Chicken. And I don't think this is going to be big news for anyone, but Scion, super massive tank right now in the meta. Super strong blind, super strong in side lane, super strong in defense. Just very solid tank overall now. Does Camille do enough damage to shut him down? We're gonna have to see, but there is definitely that possibility.
I do think that that is kind of the difficulty here for both of these teams, especially for Final Bosses, where you're pretty low on the damage. You've got the Wukong, who does really spike at 2 items. The Scion, like you said, is a tank, and then Orianna can do the damage, but needs a little bit of momentum to get going. And so I do think that WiWiCat banning away things like the Yunara, who are really reliable sources of that damage, that is a good call, but we need to see them pick up an AD carry who is able to create, who is able to make use of this space created by Wukong, Orianna, and Scion, and really just let it rip. So honestly, I would say, yeah, just a high DPS AD carry is what I'm looking for. Nothing like Ashe, nothing like Ezreal. But here on the other side of WiWiCats, I do think that you have some reliable damage with the Camille. That Hextech ultimatum means that you can get onto the backline really easily, but you want champions that can make use of that. So I am looking at things that can capitalize off of that trap, really get the ball rolling. But they did already pick up their AD carry, so now it's going to be a question of what this mid laner will be. And Azir being the pick here. So Orianna versus Azir, guys. Guess which season of League of Legends it is? Challenge Impossible. But yeah, this is reliable damage. This is scaling damage. I think it goes well with the curve of WiWiCats, and it can make use of that Camille Hextech ultimatum with the shuffle being able to get that guaranteed ult off on a target.
Yeah, and they're going to be scaling quite well to the late game too. I mean, Camille, definitely a very solid scaler. Azir, super solid scaler. And I was actually going to bring this up. You wanted a hyper scaler, and I think Zyra Khan just works perfectly with everything they want to do. I mean, you want to have multiple ball delivery systems. That's what Khan's good for. You want a hyper scaling AD carry that doesn't get one shot by Camille. Xayah has Featherstorm. That's one of the few AD carries that can kind of survive that potential burst and trap later on. But it is still going to be a bit scary, especially with the Azir having that extra range.
I think they just go Nautilus here, honestly. Like, Nautilus is such a good answer into the Xayah, but they're going to go Bard instead. I don't hate the Bard, but I do think that Corki is a champion that really struggles by being in the lane alone. Oftentimes you see Bard paired up with things that can farm reliably, like the Ezreal, the Ashen. Sivir has been a really popular pairing as well because they have that range. Corki doesn't have any such range. So if he does get zoned off of this wave, if he does get bullied in this lane and Bard is nowhere to be found, then he is going to be falling significantly behind this Xayah Toki. And that's exactly what you said. If this Xayah can really get going, then it is a really good answer into WiWiWi Cats. But I do think that if it does not get going, if it doesn't have a super bright laning phase, then it could see a lot of struggles, as there are a lot of alley-oop abilities on the side of WiWiWi Cats that could snag it up. So if you're not careful with that Featherstorm, it's not going to matter. You're just going to get picked off either way. So I'm looking at that bot lane here for Final Boss, because I do think this Xayah getting ahead and getting behind, they live and die by that. So looking at that win condition to really be pushed here by Final Boss, and I think WiWi have their plan already set. You've got a very strong top side, a top side that scales, and you've got Bard Toki, and we've seen this song and dance a million times. So I'm looking at the top side for them, and then Final Boss, I'm looking at the bot side. So it's a classic tale of opposites attract, and just a question of which team can get their respective carry ahead better.
Yeah, and so with that question, which way do you think the junglers are going to be pathing for both of these two teams? Like, do you think they're going to care more about counter ganking, or do you think they're going to care more about getting that lane you just spoke about, getting them further ahead early?
I think it's going to depend on the priority here for WiWiWi Cats, because realistically, Conceit wants to be in the jungle of Venom, right? You want to stop this Wukong from getting level 6 as much as you possibly can. And Volibear is a very strong jungler, especially if he does take that PTA that just pushes that further and pushes what you want to do even higher. So if Conceit has priority from Ratchet and Night Ravens, then I do think he will be constantly looking for these aggressive plays onto Venom. But if he doesn't, it could be a little tough. I am looking at those grubs to really be a win condition here for them, though. If we have that priority and we have our Bard constantly roaming, we should have no problem getting control of that top side, bullying Final Boss away, and forcing them to go for the dragons as their win condition, because like we said, they want to be on the bot side.
Yeah, and with that, we will find out exactly how these two teams do want to play it out after we come back for our break, because for now we're going to go ahead, get started on that spec delay. But as soon as we're back, we'll be heading right into game number 1. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon. And we are back. We are on the Rift with game number 1 between Final Boss BBQ Chicken and WiWiWi Cat. And we're getting some interesting moves right away. A 5-stack going straight into the top side, but it is going to be into Nute Scion.
Yeah, we could see that Scion has streamer mode on, so we're going to be having to refer to Nute as Scion for the whole game. This is your punishment, buddy. But yeah, they go for the 5-stack onto the top side. They don't manage to get anything, but they do open themselves up to possibly getting warded on the other side of the map. But it doesn't look like the Final Boss boys have an interest in doing that. So we are going to be going through the first minute and a half with really no information gathered by either team here, Toki.
Well, as you say that, Paradox is going to be at least sneaking in towards the Raptors. Hasn't put down the ward yet, but and looks like there won't be any ward placed, as in the bottom lane they're already going to get set up here with Duke and Campo. They do have a very strong level 1, so maybe we'll see some early action here.
They also have barrier and heal, so they can use those in the exchange and keep those health bars up. Bard particularly, I think, one of the better champions for having that in-lane sustain with that Q. You can heal up your AD carry. It's pretty minuscule at first, but it goes a long way. You know, Bard has those little shrines, so we'll have to wait and see if there is action in the level 1, as it does look like Rainy Days with that electrocute is trying his best to leverage that damage output on the Bard.
Yeah, and I mean, a Bard definitely has really strong short bursts, so not going to be too shocking to see Rainy Days trying to use that, especially with the electrocute. There's now Paradox in the mid lane. Heavy trade into Ratchet, has the level advantage, and Ratchet actually going to lose a lot of HP as they're going in towards the bot side, looking towards Pengu, but no summoner is going to be burned, just going to be a little bit of a trade.
And I like how aggressive Paradox is playing here, using that ball, just making sure that Ratchet, you know, every time he walks up for a minion, looks for CS, he does trade just a little bit of his HP bar for it. And this could open up some potential aggressive avenue for Venom later down the line. But as you can see, both junglers pathing away from one another. So that probably just creates safety for the Wukong, which is important because, like we said in the draft, he wants to get that level 6 as soon as possible. So making sure that the Volibear isn't there to run interference with priority is a very important thing. It just doesn't have any immediate returns in the gold department.
Yeah, definitely not, but we are seeing a bit of a CS gap start to form in the bot lane as Rainy Days might be walking into the brush, will get rooted up, just need one more auto, but very, very nice cosmic binding. Rainy Days will still be forced to flash, but at the very least keeps his life.
Yeah, and you could see that both mid and bot are really struggling here for WiWi Cats, but the jungler is nowhere to be found. I mean, Conceit is just about to finish up his clear as Campo taking a lot of damage.
Pretty aggressive. Level 3 will take over, so Campo can save on those summoners for now. As Conceit looking towards a play on the top side, and Nute is on a Scion. It is decently tanky, but if you manage to get it early enough, you can definitely bring him down, but unfortunately the angle just won't be there.
Yeah, they got that ward in the tri-bush, so Nute knows better than to walk up there. Ego for the 1v2. He is just going to go back on away. You can see that both junglers finishing up their clear will be just going for the reset. No aggression possible, really, by the junglers in the first 4 minutes, but a lot of action going the way of Final Boss on this bot side. Now that Conceit, though, has got that reset off, maybe he can alleviate some of that pressure on this Volibear, as he does have the boots, so he is really fast mixing that with the Q.
Yeah, but like you mentioned when we were just talking about the draft, Conceit typically would have wanted to make one of these plays a bit earlier. It doesn't have the same priority at level 6 that Venom does, and Venom is a lot stronger once the level 6 comes through. Once Cyclone's available, that's when he can actually look for the plays. That's when he can actually gank beyond just kind of being the extra damage dealer. So the fact that it was a slow early jungle definitely favorites Final Boss BBQ Chicken.
It absolutely does. You can see that Conceit actually doesn't look for anything on the bot side. There was that ward in the tri-bush, so the chances for him actually getting something done pretty slim. I do think that it is the better play to just keep on farming, but I agree with you, right? Like we established in the draft, Wukong is a champion that doesn't really want to parlay before level 6, and so far there's been no parlaying at the moment.
Yeah, definitely not, but a lot of heavy trading across all of these lanes. Mid lane and bot lane as well does find the grand entrance. Not going to be enough to finish off the kill here, though. So every single lane right now is just kind of going so well for Final Boss BBQ Chickens, though.
But you could see there's a stacking wave here from Nute. A Conceit is about to finish up his second clear, so there is a chance that Sion could be in a little bit of trouble.
Flashing forward, Paradox looking for it, but level 6 actually gonna get dodged. Paradox not gonna get hit by the Emperor's Divide, and that is gonna be first blood going over to Paradox as the gank does come through on the top side, but Nute just gonna be able to back off as now in the bot lane. Rainy Day is gonna get knocked up at the grand entrance. A couple more autos, and Duke is gonna secure that kill as well. 2-0 for Final Boss.
They don't have the CC spells though, so they're gonna have to really chance it on Pengu.
Still gonna be chased flash for flash so far. One more auto, no mana, and one final bonk, and that is gonna be the feat of warfare going to Final Boss BBQ Chicken.
And they're not even gonna push the wave. I love this from the Final Boss bot lane because it's gonna push into them, and with no flash on Pengu or Rainy Days, that puts them in prime time to just get aggressed onto with no real defensive spells available. So big win there for Final Boss as they do get a successful somewhat tower dive on the bot lane. And then like we also saw, Paradox getting that solo kill onto Ratchet, so they will get the first 3 kills. Feats of Warfare acquired, but it does also mean that Conceit getting his reset will be first onto the Dragons, so at the very least they'll be able to trade back the objective at the end of the day.
Yeah, but in the meanwhile, there is a lane swap in the top side. There is still another heavy trade in favor of Paradox in the mid lane. So Final Boss BBQ Chicken, it seems like they're completely okay just giving up this dragon. And like you said at the start, there's going to be a lot of priority around these grubs. Except you expected it to come out from WiWiWi Cat. Instead, it's going to be coming out from Final Boss.
Paradox may be in a bit of trouble. You can see they magical journeyed over to the Orianna. Doesn't have flash.
So Cosmic Binding is going to land, so the stun is there, but Conceit trying to flash forward with the stun. We'll be able to find now Venom's here. Has the Cyclone only hitting onto one, just trying to buy some space, and actually Rainy Days going to be taken down there in a 2v3 as Final Boss BBQ Chicken will continue their priority.
Yeah, good save there from Venom. A decent look there from WiWi, but they had no idea where the Wukong was. Ooh, alley-oop.
But Emperor's Divide underneath the turret will land this time. Paradox starting to get taken down decently low, but again with the command Dissonance and that slow prevents Ratchet from following up.
Yeah, he used all of his spells there and doesn't have flash. He was scared that Campo was going to look with that W, look for the knockup, and maybe turn that in Final Boss BBQ Chicken's way. So he ends up backing off, but what it does mean is they have to concede a little bit of pressure. Those grubs, one will be taken by Final Boss. We are probably going to get the next 2. It looks like as Paradox going for the reset, but doesn't have teleport. So the numbers advantage will favor them for the time being. And this is what we said we wanted, Toki. We said how important it was that this top side got the grubs, and so they will get 2.
And they are looking for Rainy Days here with Campo and Duck, but unfortunately not going to be able to get the root from the Blade Caller. And that is going to be at the very least 2 grubs, and likely all 3, as we see Venom on the minimap just going to be going down to the Raptors instead. So definitely the team fights have been favoring Final Boss BBQ Chicken. All of these little skirmishes going their way, but it's 2 objectives to none in favor of WiWiWi Cat.
Final Boss getting the kills, but WiWi Cat's kind of reaping the rewards here. But I feel like this is something that we sometimes see in competitive, right? Where you're able to sneak away a couple of these objectives, but the team with more gold, that being Final Boss by about 2k now, by the way, usually will find a play and then transition that into an objective. It's just a question of when, as Night Ravens missed it.
Yeah, no hookshot's gonna be there. Grand entrance comes through as Shockwave is gonna come in, and just one more hit needs to come through, and Paradox on a killing spree, 3-0 on the Orianna.
Yeah, we talked about the Orianna. We said it's difficult for this champion to be a carry, be a source of damage, unless it gets that snowball rolling in the earlier levels. As Duck,
as Ratchet going in, will forth south of Featherstorm, but now the Blade Caller actually gets a decent amount of damage onto Ratchet, but it's still going to be the ultimate and the barrier actually forced out of Duck.
Holds on to that flash though, so we'll still have some defensive summoner spells in tow. Good look there from Rainy Days, but fortunately just not able to find anything as a result. Now, though, we can see a little bit of a jumble up of the lane assignments. Now returning back to normal as Paradox will be going back to the mid lane. Has that Roa complete. So really massive spike here for the Orianna. Talking about if it could be a damage source. Well, it now definitely is a Toki. So ahead of this dragon coming up in about 1 minute 30 seconds. I do think it is going to be on them to leverage the power of this Orianna to get Prio in mid and then rotate to that river, get the second dragon, and prevent WiWiCats from stealing another neutral objective in broad daylight here.
Yeah, and I mean, with their Goldie, it's one that they definitely should not be able to take for themselves, but 2 players up in that top side, they still have their bot lane pushing out the top lane. Duck and Campo, at least one of them needs to roam down for this dragon if it is something they want to have for themselves. Otherwise, numbers advantage definitely going to be favoring WiWiCats.
Yeah.
Oh, but now Night Ravens going in will get a little bit of damage traded back and forth, but it does prevent them from hitting the turret at least, so there is that in favor of Night Ravens.
They did get the plate, though. Still a little bit of gold given over to the Xayah. A lot of damage onto Night Ravens as well. He has to be careful about this. He does have the Hextech ultimatum, but if he mismanages his cooldowns, it could be a little bit scary as goes on in with the E.
Yeah, not really going to be looking for too much there. I mean, I think both are trying each other's limits. I think Night Ravens is trying to get them to overcommit a little bit, and then Duck and Campo are trying to get Night Ravens when he baits a little bit too hard. You know, it's that big game of chicken we see a lot in those diveable lanes. Like, you know, you can dive it in the right scenario.
Do I want to? Yeah, no, exactly. Both of these teams want to go for Dragon, though, and that's spawning in about 5 seconds. This would be the second one for WiWiCats, and the first objective for Final Boss, period, which is still something really awkward to say because they're 2k gold up.
Yeah, and that 2k is also a big 2k, because if you're looking at the item timings there, Triforce complete onto Venom is now, never mind, Pengu going to be hit by the Cyclone, and then Grand Entrance over top with the quickness. Do they have the damage, though? And right now, Temper Fate actually going to reset the tower aggro, but it will buy enough time for Rainy Days to come back in. Cosmic Binding not going to land. Campo, though, with the Ignite, one final auto. Rainy Days is actually going to be the one to get the kill. A bit of an overcommittal from FBBQ.
Yeah, FBBQ really looking for their opportunity, but I feel like the barrier is enough. The health stacking from the Triforce as well buys him a little bit of time. And then the Tempered Fate there from Rainy Days gives him the distance to cover, and it just resets the tower like you said, Toki. They're not really able to finish off that last little bit of damage, so it is a kill over to WiWi, but they're actually not going to go for the dragon despite having numbers advantage. A good chunk of them were up in that top side, so they are going to wait it out for the time being. That Drake still up, and now the pings are being dropped by both teams about their desire to go for this Chemtech.
Yeah, but the ping from Venom was to go up to that blue buff, so gonna still be a little bit before the Wukong is back, and the Cyclone was used. Now, if FBQ can hold it long enough, they will have the Cyclone up well before the flash barrier of Pengu's gonna be there, but the way things are set up right now, the way both sides are positioned, it looks like this is just going to be another free objective to WiWiCats.
Does kind of look that way, which is surprising because Venom has the Triforce. That's a really big item spike that we talked about in the draft for this champion, but they just don't have the Prio. They don't really have the vision either. You can see there's so many wards on that bot side. Dragging it about half, and now it looks like they want to contest.
Yeah, but
are they
Venom's
too late?
gonna be here. TP coming in from Nute as well. Conceit is gonna be the target and is just going to sacrifice himself for that dragon, but you will take that any day on WiWiCats.
Yeah, that's feats of dragon slaying. That is 2 dragons and 2 grubs, so you have that in your back pocket. Those grubs are going to make it a lot easier for you to go for that turret as well. We can see that Night Ravens is completely alone on that top side. So the Camille, a champion who can really benefit from those grubs with how much side lane pressure she can apply, having that hook shot to just get away and those Qs to deal damage. They have to be making sure they monitor what Night Ravens is doing on side lanes, because if they leave him alone like that again, it could be the tower and it could be the feats given over to WiWiCats.
Yeah, they're definitely going to try to prevent that as Venom gets his reset completely interrupted there by accident. I think Rainy Days was just trying to get a little bit of vision, a little bit of warding down, but we'll be able to spot out the jungler in that process. But I got to say, they have a big lead as Hold That Thought. Venom again going to get interrupted. This time could be in danger. and will be forced to flash out. Ratchet did not get the Emperor's Divide in time, but they're killing so much of Venom's time right now.
Yeah, Venom not really able to get up toward what I imagine would be that top side. You want to go for the Herald and maybe force that to get you a turret, because like we said, you don't have 2 grubs, right? You only have 1. So your tower taking ability is not on par with WiWiCats. One way that you could fix that is by getting the Herald to just immediately knock down that tower. But because, like we said, that recall was canceled, it's going to be a little bit until he gets toward that top side, which gives WiWiCats the ability to regroup around that part of the map. You can see that both solo laners from WiWiCats are making their way toward their respective lanes, and as is Conceit.
Yeah, they're trying to take this turret down in the bot lane at the same time, but they just don't have the DPS yet. They don't have those extra grubs that could definitely help them with that push. And because of that, Duck actually takes a decent amount of damage from Pengu just while trying to auto attack onto that turret. I think it's very clear right now, both teams really want to get those feats for themselves, but a lot of defense coming out from either side. Both Rift, Herald getting started in that top side by Conceit. If he's able to just grab that and push that into a lane, that should just be first turret of the game and the feats going their way.
Well, look at Venom. He's looking for some kind of a dive, but we've seen this song and dance before. He does get spotted.
Yeah, there's no wave.
There's no wave, and there's also the Tempered Fate, right? We like saw this tower dive attempt before with the Bard in the presence of it, and it did not go well. So we'll have to see what happens the second time around.
Yeah, they're looking for more. They're looking for rainy days to start. We'll be able to burst them down. And now Paradox is going to be here as well. Pengu going to get knocked down. Who's going to get first turret, though? They're going to try and burn it down in the bot lane, and they will be able to get it. So that is going to be feats going the way of Final Boss Barbecue Chicken, as in the meanwhile, Nute getting chunked out by Conceit will use that Stormbringer over top, but the ultimate is going to be there. Unstoppable Hostile will get him to safety. And instead, Campo's going to be the one to go down, as instead Nute's just going to come into the mid lane, buy a little spaces. Now Venom continues on a Ratchet, but Emperor's Divide underneath the turret. A couple hits is all it takes, flashes forward, and that's a shutdown going the way of Ratchet, and they're going to continue the Herald push to the top side. This game just got chaotic.
It's both teams riding that train as much as they can, and unfortunately for Venom, he rode it a little too close to the sun. The shutdown goes over to Ratchet. It's the first kill for the Azir. The big AP scaling threat here for WiWiCats finally on the board after what felt like a lifetime of bullying from this Orianna, who still is really relevant on this map, by the way. 7 stacks on the Roa, 8 stacks on the Dark Seal. And that tower is also really, really low. So maybe they get more than 1 turret, maybe they get 2. As yeah, just a lot of action across the board, but starting with that tower dive, we said, oh, hang on, hold that thought.
Yeah, Paradox could be in a dangerous spot. Conceit is here. Now Campo's gonna be targeted instead, but with the Battle Dance just gonna be able to jump out to safety. They're not gonna be able to take this mid lane tier 1, but it is definitely super low, and if they grab that, that's gonna give them a lot of extra priority.
Yeah, bot and mid towers being taken really sets you up for the Dragons, which at this point, Final Boss desperately need. They are down 2 at the moment. This is really when we see teams who have been lax on the objective side of the game, but are still gaining a decent amount of gold, really turn the tide. If they aren't able to do it here, then that means they're kind of put on a timer for WiWiCats to exploit. So it really is up to them to get this ball rolling. As you can see, both top laners split pushing on the other side of the map, but both rocking that teleport, ready to get in there at a moment's notice.
Yeah, and the gold that you were talking about, it's so much less than it was before. It's actually Pengu gonna get dove. Tempered Fate does find its way onto Paradox, but do they find anything else? Emperor's Divide on it too, but it's only gonna look good. They'll trade back for Venom, but so far it's a 1-for-1. Duck now trying to buy some space, gets the Blade Caller over top, but now the Sand Soldiers just dealing a lot of damage. And all things said and done, it's a 1-for-1, but now Night Ravens and Nute are here as well. And another Cosmic Binding is gonna land. A Paradox could be the best spot, but Campo instead gonna go forward, gonna look for those roots. Thunderstorm over top will take down Ratchet, as now Night Ravens may have gone a little bit too far. Decimating Smash not gonna get the knockup, not gonna be needed. Double kill going over to Duck, and just like that at BBQ, they regain their gold lead.
and Campo is dancing on the graves of WiWiWi Cats. He's using the slipperiness of the Rakan to corral and force the rest of them to chase him. All the while, the damage is being delivered onto the members of WiWiWi Cats. So Ratchet goes down, Night Ravens follows, Venom is back up, and the Dragon is still standing, but not for long.
Yeah, but now Nute trying to buy some space, buy some time, but the Dragon is still quite healthy.
Teleport.
And now the teleport coming in. We're gonna have ourselves another fight here. Campo needing to jump over the wall. Does not have the quickness this time around, but they do have the Cyclone on Venom. They're looking for one. They're able to take down Ratchet right away. Concede taking so much damage, will get finished off. The Dragon's gonna go the way of Final Boss, and another teleport from Night Ravens will immediately get the knock-up. Shockwave over top, and Night Ravens just takes Venom on the way out. But it's still a team fight and the Dragon for Final Boss.
And that's a big win for Final Boss. They might lose the mid turret off of this as WiWiWi Cats regain control of that part of the map, and they have the grubs in tow. But still, they stop the soul stacking. They get the fight win. The Cyclone from Venom is absolutely huge, Toki. It gives them so much time to get this Azir low. And they make use of every single millisecond. Ratchet TPs in just to get slaughtered. And the objective goes the way of Final Boss. Otacon is now spawned. It has been up for about a minute, but it has been nonstop fighting over the Dragon all that time.
Yeah, and it's been a pretty quiet start to this game. We'll have the occasional skirmish. We'll have the occasional pickoff. But now both teams, they're ready, they're confident, and that's where we get the true teamfight action that we all know and love. And instant TP coming through the side of Final Boss BBQ Chicken. They want to keep this going. They're just going to pull the Otacon. Conceits in the top, and they have the waves. This might just go uncontested.
Well, look, Ratchet's on the top side, and he used that teleport for the Dragon, right? The Azir has no way of actually entering the fight. I don't actually know why WiWiWi Cats decided to do that, because the tier 2 is gone. The members of Final Boss, they can just reset, clear the wave, and you don't really get any pressure. The only pressure that you will get will be in the mid lane, so they do take down that tier 1, but Final Boss already had the tier 1, so you are just evening out the playing field. If anything, big objective going the way of Final Boss. And this is what we said. You may have snuck a couple of objectives under from their nose, but you are not going to be able to do that when they are grouped up. Since they have team fight, these guys have looked like a completely different machine, Toki.
Yeah, definitely. And they're also going to be able to get that tier 2 because, like you said, there was no tier 2 in the top side left for WiWiWi Cats to take, but there definitely was one on the bot side for Final Boss BBQ Chicken. So even on the cross map, they still win out, not counting the Otacon. As now potential play Concede, definitely looking for that stun with the Thundering Smash, but there's just no good target for them to go on.
There really isn't much for WiWiWi Cat to get off the map currently. They just don't have any control of the bot side, which that tier 1 tower is still standing and would be really nice to have for the future of setting up around these dragons, which will now become essentially the focal point of how this game is determined, Toki. I mean, there's no Otacon, there's no Grubs, there's no Herald. Baron will be up in about a minute and a half, so maybe we can start seeing some cross-map shenanigans with that. But the Dragon will largely be how this game is dictated. I think until then, realistically, what we have to be looking for is those item spikes for the AD carries. You can see that both Pengu and Duck have 2 items, are working on their 3rd, and that's when both of these champions really tend to spike. And in the case of Final Boss, we said how important the Xayah was for getting ahead. 4-0 and 5. I would say they've done a pretty damn good job.
You know what? I think I might agree with you there too, and that's also the tier 3 boots done. Getting very close to 3rd items now. Campo looking for Pengu, but quickness still only going to reach at the edge there. Now Rainy Days could be the target instead. Tempered Fate will buy a little bit of time. But Featherstorm over top, not going to be able to find anyone else of the Blade Caller, as now Concede trying to zone them away. Cyclone not going to be enough for the kill, and now Night Ravens is here, and that's where the damage is coming through as Paradox gets killed in the backline. But Venom will be traded for now. Concede tanking up so much damage, but can't tank up enough. Night Ravens will flash over the top as the teleport coming through, and Ratchet taking down super low just from Newton. Duck gonna come in to finish us off, and the tier 2.
The Ratchet teleport has been, maybe we have to start memeing that, as that is the second time he's teleported just to die in this game. He's immediately spawned in. He's literally getting spawn camped in these fights, Toki, but it is a massive win for Final Boss. And I gotta give Duck credit there. He used the Feather Storm aggressively, but that got flashed by Rainy Day, so he didn't have any ult. He didn't really have that for defensive purposes, all the while WiWiWi Cats were coming from every single angle, and he still manages to leave the fight completely untouched. This Xayah has been running circles around WiWiWi Cats, and now that third item that we talked about has been hit for him, working on that fourth ahead of this dragon. This is an absolutely monstrous champion on the Rift.
Yeah, they're gonna get first move onto Drake. There's no one even nearby right now from WiWiWi Cat, so this should just be a second dragon for free, but they are gonna pull the Baron. And yes, they do have damage with the Azir with the Corki, but they're not the ones hitting the Baron right now.
Paradox is going bot, and he doesn't have teleport. This would be a 4v5 if they don't sniff it out in time. They have the redemption.
Yeah, which side is Baron on? Will he help Final Boss BBQ Chicken, or will WiWiWi Cats get it? And it is gonna get taken out by WiWiWi Cats, but what about the fight after Venom in the backline with the Cyclone just over the magical journey? They're gonna take one out, and now they're gonna be looking for more. Campo gets a knock-up on a Concede. Trying to get away will be the sacrificial lamb, but they should not have gotten that objective. That is still a win for WiWiWi Cats, unless they can push more with this.
Venom failed the decoy over the wall, but it doesn't matter getting to them when all of them come to you. WiWiWi Cats, they magical journey into the meat grinder of the Wukong, and now Final Boss BBQ Chicken are eating good tonight. 4 members strong. They're onto the base. The question of can they end Toki, that is what is in everyone's minds.
Yeah, but the wave is cleared away. They have their main tank now, but even that right tower is still going to be standing only one auto attack away. And with the Baron up minions, they're not even going to be able to take that out. WiWiWi Cats definitely have a massive defense for themselves.
They hold on, but they are limping. Make no mistake. Night Raven trying to look for some angle onto Paradox, but we can see Nute is just
Campo
there.
on the side.
Play bodyguard. Yup, Campo on the side. Does have ult available.
Yeah, and immediately going to be going in with the quickness. Will get the grand entrance onto 2. Can they follow the unstoppable onslaught? Only going to find its way onto Concede. A lot of damage in the back line as Decimating Smash going to get interrupted by the Temper Fade, and Concede now going forward. Will heal up a lot. Night Ravens with a hook shot. Going to jump backwards, and instead will get burst down in the back line. Unstoppable onslaught still not going to, Decimating Smash, sorry, still not going to be able to zone them away. As Rainy Days will get finished up by the zombie. And it's still another 2 for 1. But with the Azir turn and the health bars, they're definitely going to be able to go through mid. So they're just going to go through bot.
Yeah, Pengu still has the buff available. The Corki is going to hold on for his team with those empowered minions. Final Boss, they can't look for an avenue in mid, but that doesn't say anything about what they can do on the bot lane.
Yeah, now looking for Pengu, the poke from Paradox over this wall, zoning them away so hard. They're just going to have to give up a second inhibitor. And let's go. It's time for part 2 of Can They End? And right now, they're going to be able to get the first turret. But again, the wave is already gone. The Baron up minions are so tanky for them to burst through. And I think they're just going to have to back away again.
You know, the first attempt was there, the second attempt was there, but they're trying to make a trilogy out of it, Toki. You know, the third one is always the best one, right? Like, think about Revenge of the Sith. Think about, I was gonna say Terminator, but isn't Terminator 2 considered to be the best one?
Yeah, I was gonna say Terminator 2. I really don't know about Revenge of the Sith being the best one, because I mean, Phantom Menace always and forever the best Star Wars movie. Yeah. Listen. All the droids, you know, you got the Roger. I mean, that's timeless. Everyone's gonna remember that forever. What does Revenge of the Sith have? Nothing.
Everything. What? Nah, this is a talk that we have to have between games, but as it stands, the game right now, even though WiWiWi Cats hold on, like we said, they're limping. They don't have a lot of time left. If they can fight for this dragon, maybe they can prolong this timer that they have bought for themselves. But as it stands, they're 4K gold down. A lot of that sitting on the Orianna and the Xayah, who frankly, WiWiWi Cats have really struggled to get onto the back line too. We talked about the consistent damage here for this team really being that Corki and that Azir, but they haven't been able to deal that damage toward these carries on Final Boss, and so it's really been on Night Raven and Conceit. And as we saw in that most recent fight, sometimes it forces them to overextend, like we saw with the Camille Hextech ultimatum. So it does create a really difficult situation here for WiWiWi Cats, where you can't go through the front line, you can't get to the back line. So what do you have if you are them?
Yeah, all you have to do is hope for a pick and maybe try and find that angle, as we actually have the Emperor's Divide in that bottom lane. Looks like the quickness was used by Campo as well. So just going to be the trade of ultimates, so no one's going to be going down, no summoners burned. But the push still going to be coming through in the top side, and the super minions going to be pushing in through mid lane and bot as they continue to threaten on the base.
You know why I think the third one is always the best? Because that's the one that Final Boss are going to be able to end on, as Night Raven just gets run over by Nute. Choo-choo coming through. That'll be
there's no brakes on the Nute train, and they're just going to continue pushing this in towards the top side. Temper Fate going to try and buy a little bit of time, and the dragon has spawned. Neither team really cares about that right now, because I think Final Boss BBQ looking for the throat, but without the wave, they just don't deal damage to the turret. Gonna have to wait for the next wave.
Yep, and you can see that mid inhibitor close to respawning as well.
Campbell flashing forward, will be able to find his way on a Ratchet and Shockwave on the backline, finding three. Instead, Conceit and Pang is going to be taking so much damage. Rainy Days buys a little bit of time. Will go through with the magical journey, but it ends in disaster because Final Boss BBQ, they get the ace. They're knocking down the Nexus turrets, and they're knocking down the Nexus with a Quadra going to Duck as they take game number 1.
And 26-9, the trilogy of pushes here by Final Boss BBQ. We had the first one, the original, then we had the sequel, but then we had the conclusion, and that was the best one, Toki, because they actually managed to end it. Clean game from Final Boss BBQ Chicken. We talked about the importance of reeling it in the early game, giving this Wukong the time to hit level 6, and then pulling the trigger when you had those massive spikes and those big breakpoints. And that's exactly what they did. This was textbook League of Legends from Final Boss.
I mean, they played extremely well. They gave up the first couple objectives, but it didn't seem like that was because of a mistake. It seemed like that was because it was part of the plan. They just want to make sure they had the items on Duck. They want to make sure Paradox was able to get ahead. And I mean, look at the damage for those two carries. Played phenomenally, especially on Duck. 0 deaths that entire game.
Yeah, they did a really good job at creating that space. That's why we said the Xayah was so important, because not only do you have that ultimate, that defensiveness, to get away from a lot of these pick tools on the side of WiWiWi Cats, but you also have these space makers that are able to give you the time in fights to deal that damage and move around. So he made the most of that. Really good stuff from him, and really good stuff from Paradox as well. Honestly, I feel like he got the better of Ratchet in that laning phase with the Orianna, starting off the game with basically 3 kills and getting early stacks on that Darksteel made him a huge threat in those early to mid game fights, and that allowed them to bridge that toward the late game where Duck, as you say, Toki, took over.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they're going to be able to bring that same energy into game number 2, or if the side of WiWiWi Cat will be able to bring it back and take us to that trilogy, you know? But before we go on a break, gotta give a quick shout out to the sponsors, Zen Market. Zen Market is your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops in Japan, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. They'll even consolidate all your items safely into one box and can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Check the panel below the stream or click the link in the chat to try them out now. And if you sign up with promo code Aegis, you'll get 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. And on top of that, if you decide to make a purchase on Zen Market, which I do recommend, use code Aegis25 to get 25% off your first purchase only. So make it a big one. Thank you, Zen Market, and we'll see you after the break.
ここだって衣装の数がこんなに
迷っちゃいました。ウィッグをお探しです。
リボンの種類が豊富なんですよ。見ます？
どないしよう空のことを助けなあかんのに待っていろいろ教えてくれるのは嬉しいけど大事なのは空このキャラのアニメ版の衣装が欲しいんだサイズはこれウィッグは大丈夫
ありがとう、全マーケット。
Clouds move closer, but with a deepest red. Oh, beneath them we look on. When they part comes the hatred they bring. Lost in the dark, we've come so far. Another step to rid the pain. Go and be counted till your last day. 'Cause only nightmares break their face. So stand upon these fallen lands and follow in our Father's plans. Yeah, until the end we will remain, and we'll hold on until our last breath. So what is to be left for us? My people look on and say, don't fear what you don't know, 'cause we're far from certain fate. And we'll make our final stand. Lost in the dark, we've come so far. Another step to rid the pain. Go and be counted till your last day. 'Cause only nightmares break their flames. So stand upon these fallen lands and follow in our Father's plans. Yeah, until the end we will remain, and we'll hold on until the last
And we are back with game number 2 between Final Boss Barbecue Chicken and WiWiWi Cat of our AML Week 4. Final Boss Barbecue Chicken, they took game 1 But let's see if WiWiWi can bring it back here in Quacks. Got a question for you. What would you like to see different in this draft? Or do you think the draft wasn't the issue?
I actually don't think the draft was the issue. I think that WiWiCats pressed their claim at the right time, looking for those early picks with the volley bear. But I do also just think that sometimes it's just about the team playing better. I think that Final Boss really did play that early game about as crisp as they could, about as defensive as they could. Maybe like a little bit more aggression toward the mid and bot side because they were heavily trading, and we did see the volley bear often toward the top side of the map where there wasn't a lot to get done in that matchup. So if we can probably see a little bit more agency around those highly skirmished lanes, I do think WiWiCats can capitalize off of that, take control of the dragon or the grubs, whatever side that fighting is on, and really control that zone, because they were really good at that, right? They got those first two dragons because they had that down. Even when they were down in gold, they still managed to snag those away. So I think couple that with maybe a little bit of a gold lead, and you should be looking for a solid early game that you can then bridge into a mid and late game. And who knows, maybe a game number 3. We were talking about trilogies, and the game 3 would be something to add to that. Like you said at the end of game 1, Tokias, we are finished with the bans, and already out of the gate, we do see the Ambessa locked in here for Final Boss, signaling to us that the skirmishing will be on the top side, Toki.
Yeah, and you said you wanted WiWiWiCat to maybe have someone that could get more priority in the top side, as potentially it is going to be the Jax. I mean, it could be the Jax jungle, it could be the Jax top, still definitely a flex pick. But what do you think of that matchup if they do put into the top lane with Ambessa versus Jax?
I do think that Jax does not like this matchup. Ambessa is a damage dealer with her abilities, not auto attacks, and has a very easy time getting out of that counter strike. So I actually think Ambessa kind of stomps this matchup, and now this does signal to me that Jax might be a jungler. So I would like to see that adaptation come through here from WiWiCats. Sorry, if possible, as Final Boss just going to continue with the Exodia picks. They're going to go for the Yunar. They're going to go for the Jarvan. I don't really see anything on the side of Final Boss that can really make use of that Cataclysm. We don't have anything like a Rumble or a Galio. So I do think pairing it up with something that can really combo with that ultimate would be nice for Final Boss here on 4-5, as we are going to see that Nico here on 3 with the Sivir. This is a really common lane at just getting shoved. So if this is a Jax jungle, I think this would allow him, similar to what we saw in game number 1, maybe you don't get a ton of aggression done, but you do save this guy the trouble of having to fight the Jarvan until that level 6 where he really spikes.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe this is where we do see that new Nico skin coming out. Hopefully they do have it on WiWiWiCat. I mean, that was my first thought. I want to see the Biko. Anytime there's a B skin involved, I have to see it. There's a reason why it's in my name. But talking more about the drafts right now, because we do have our next sets of bans coming through. We have the Poppy getting banned by Final Boss, and we also have the Karma getting banned away by WiWiWiCat. But it looks like these are going to be two very hard scalers from the bot lane. So does that mean we should expect a lot more action towards the top half of the map?
I do think top side is where I'm looking, but it's a little bit hard to fully grasp what we're looking at here, because we, again, don't know if this Jax is in the jungle or in the top lane. Again, would really like to see it in the jungle. I think Ambessa hard wins this matchup, and I do think that Jax against Jarvan is much more favorable for that champion. I don't expect to see a mid blind here, because we want to give that counter pick over, just one of the benefits of having red side. So we'll probably get a reveal on whether this is a Jax jungle or a Jax top, and it does look like it is a Jax top. So Ambessa really likes this matchup, by the way. Again, I think this is a good 1v1 for her. Nocturne, a champion that I also think is... I've gone on record saying I think Nocturne is kind of fake. I think that if you want a champion that spikes at 6, you're looking at Jax, you're looking at Wukong. A Nocturne with the paranoia is good, but only if you can pair it with a strong mid laner that can capitalize off of that. So that just leaves us to wonder, what are WiWiCats going to go here on 5?
Honestly, I agree with you. I've always found Nocturne to be kind of a longer range Vi, in the sense that you do have that guaranteed jump, but at the same time, if you don't have an Ahri with the Vi, if you don't have the Orianna with the Nocturne, it's so hard to actually capitalize on that engagement. And sometimes you're just left completely alone and afraid and cold in the back line, hoping for someone to come and save you. But we are seeing the Hui locked in, and you wanted someone that can kind of take advantage of the Cataclysm, and Hui is definitely one of the picks that can do that. And they get the Alistair in the bot lane to continue with that chain CC.
If they want to go Sylas here, I wouldn't hate it. This is a good Sylas game, and it's a good matchup into the way. So you also got that Unbreakable to steal, right? That's the number one reason why you go Sylas in comp. If there is an Alistair on the enemy team, Sylas turns into like the best champion in the game. So I do think that possibility is certainly there. But if we're looking at mages that are still available, I don't know. You could go like Syndra, I think would not be bad here. All right, so we are going to be seeing the Syndra. Look at me go. So a lot of lockdown here for the Nico and the Syndra that will give time for the Jax and the Nocturne to hit. But my biggest concern is just the disengage here by Final Boss. You've got things like the public execution, you've got the Quafier, you've got the headbutt. And so I do think that really for Final Boss, they have a choice on what direction they want to go. WiWiWi Cats, it really is like all one direction. And if you're committed, you're going for it until the end. And I do think that not having that ability to really turn back is something that they lose when compared to Final Boss.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be rough for them too, because I still think a lot of their engage pretty much has to come out of Nico. They don't really have that much hard CC, except maybe with Scatter the Weak coming out of Syndra, but that's very situational. It's hard to follow up on it for the rest of the team. So definitely going to be interesting to see how WiWiWi Cat try to start these fights. I do think they could be really good at picking off side lanes, so maybe that's how they want to play this out.
Yeah, I mean, you do have a Jax, so anytime you have this champion, you have to think about the side lane pressure that he'll provide. But again, I expect Ambessa to be the breadwinner of this matchup. And I mean, I expect the Jarvan as well to be camping this matchup because you have Yunara, Alistar on the other side. This is basically as safe as it gets for bot lanes. So there isn't a ton of attention that you need to be paid up toward that 2v2, which does leave you a lot of room to get this top side where it needs to be. It's very similar to what we said in the last game for WiWiWi Cats, where we want to see them focus with their solo laners. On the other side though, WiWiWi Cats, I agree with you. They don't really have a go button, right? Your best case is like a paranoia, but you need to be following that up with like a scatter the weak that actually connects. You need to be very on time with these spells, with these CCs, if you are WiWiWi Cats, because if even one thing is out of line, I think that Final Boss BBQ Chicken can turn the fight around, and they've got the superior scaling in my eyes. So I definitely worry for WiWiWi Cats in this game. I do think that their draft is slightly worse. I don't think they have a go button, and I don't think they have as clear of an early game win con in this game either, as all of these champions usually are better toward the mid to late game stages.
Well, we'll see if WiWiWi Cat can prove you wrong, or a Final Boss Barbecue Chicken are going to take us to a 2-0 today. But for now, we are going to head over to our spectator delay break. But when we come back, we'll be right on the Rift, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back again soon.
In the dying moments, you can
welcome back, everyone. Not the message we like to see at the start, but either way, we are here for game number 2 between Final Boss Barbecue Chicken and WiWiWi Cat. And once again, WiWiWi Cat just immediately gonna group up as 5, except this time they're going to the bot lane.
They weren't successful in game number 1. Maybe they'll be successful here the second time around. We do see Campo maybe going to spot them out. We'll actually see them with the ward. So nope, no one dying in the level 1. But as we can see, they again concede a bunch of the map and will be giving over the top side to Final Boss with their wards. So they will get some information onto the Nocturne and where he'll be full clearing towards.
Yeah, and they haven't dropped their ward quite yet on the Raptors, though I do suspect it will be coming out soon. Unless they're just trying to set up a trap for Conceit, because Nute is in pretty deep right now. Venom is set up in the area as well. The ward is going to fall now, so they will be able to spot out Conceit. And it looks like they are just going to back away as Conceit will take out that ward. So overall, we're in the exact same position we were at the start.
Yeah, you get the gold, but because it was taken so late, that means that you can't really go over to the other side to start up that blue. So Final Boss should anticipate the Nocturne starting on that top side and pathing toward the bottom lane. Venom doing the same, so we are going to be seeing a little bit of a different action come out here from the junglers here in game number 2, maybe meeting on that bot side crab.
Yeah, but for now, we are just going to have a little bit of trading as Rainy Days being the really annoying Nico we all know and love, just consistently throwing out those blooming bursts, getting the extra poke damage onto the melee that is Campo. As in the top side, Nightbrave is actually getting a really solid trade early on into Nute, definitely benefiting a lot from that lethal tempo.
Yep, like you said, the lethal tempo helping him out. Level 2, though, Nute has to be very aware of that and probably just back off for the time being. There's trading across the board. We can see that both Paradox and Ratchet are at it again like they were in game number 1, but Paradox has range to fall back onto, right? This is one of the big strengths of Hui. So if he's in danger, he really just has the option to farm from afar and make it difficult for you to actually capitalize off of maybe him being immobile.
Yeah, I definitely will have those options as Ratchet still getting a decent bit of trade back, getting those first strike procs as well. It's not going to amount to too much gold early on, but it definitely does scale up as now Night Ravens. But like you said, just not able to land that counter strike. Too many dashes coming out of Nute there.
Yep, and Night Raven only has 1, so I think like 3 or 4 dashes beats 1 dash here in the big 2025 with all those champions. And Besta came out sooner, so therefore they win the matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate doing math on broadcast, but 4 is definitely bigger than 1. So at the very least, I can agree with you on that one. So
we're not playing
golf,
right now. A lower number doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's how you use it, right? But right now in the bot lane, looks like Campo and Duck looking to make an aggressive play, but even with the slow Penguin Rainy Days, they're watching out for it, just going to back away to safety before anything does come through.
You could see that Venom, understanding he doesn't have prio on this bot side, will be going up toward the top crab, that double range bot lane, going to give the Nocturne the ability to pick up that full clear and likely just go for a reset off of that. Does have his Raptors up, actually, so he is going to cross over instead to secure those.
Yeah, but now just taking a look over at this CS numbers across the map, let's hold that thought. Conceit going to get knocked out with a flag and drag. Paradox is going to be able to get the bite, just needs a little bit more damage. Won't be able to take out Conceit, but they will force the flash.
And that's a feels bad because he's going to miss those tier 2 Raptors as well. Conceit forced to burn that summoner, like you said, but will have a little bit of a wrench thrown into his full clearing plans, as now he is relegated to the Krugs, which are pretty far away from the rest of the camp. So he'll have to spend time walking to those, and that's time that Jarvan can use to get stuff done around the map. He's actually going to go for the Krugs too, so he's going to take away 2 camps and really make this Nocturne sad.
Yeah, and it's going to delay the level 6 power spike. Kind of like you said with the Wukong, you want that level 6 before you make a play, as a Nocturne will try to get that fear, but Speakable Horror is just going to get tethered out with that flag and drag over the wall. No way of following him, but Venom might be in a bad spot here. Actually had to flash over the wall there, as now we're seeing Night Ravens trading really hard in the top stand. Again, lethal tempo, very good at these long trades, almost takes down Nute. But just a little bit of HP left, still has a teleport, so Shouldn't be too much danger, but actually cancel the recall.
And look at Paradox. I mean, they're looking for a play onto him as it's not going to be enough because Conceit wanting to do something because he got his top side taken. Is he going to be able to find it though as Campo? Ooh, good spell shield.
Yeah, Duck will take a little bit of damage on the way out. Same with Campo, just so much range and damage coming out from Pengu and Rainy Days. And they're just able to shove this wave right in. I mean, that is the power of the Sivir Nico. Like you said, just continuous shove, shove, shove. And eventually you also land some of that poke. You have the boomerang blade, you have the ricochet. Bit by bit, the damage adds up as Venom looking for a play in the mid lane. Scatter the Weak just went away. And because of that, Ratchet going to be forced to flash. But Venom still looking to chase. They have the snipe coming out over the top. Just needs one more ability to come back. And with the spear, gonna get the first blood for Venom.
Yup, impales Ratchet, gets the first kill, and Paradox freed from his lane opponent should be able to shove this mid wave in. Conceit will show on the map and pick it up, so we'll give a little bit more golden experience back to the Nocturne that he lost from getting his top side taken. So there is a silver lining in this for WiWiWi Cats, but that Jarvan train beginning to chug along here, and now it's just a question of with that gold, what can he do with it and that tunneler that he has in inventory.
Yeah, and it is going to be the tunneler for now. Could be looking towards the top. There was a ping towards the Night Ravens, and they do have public execution. They have the Cataclysm ready on Venom as well. So it looks like they might be considering the gank, maybe even the dive on this top side, but they're giving away the dragon in the meanwhile as Night Raven takes a decent amount of damage, and that's going to be the public execution over top, and with the Cataclysm, we're not even going to be allowed to see that. That is not safe to watch.
And that was beautifully played there by Nute. I mean, he gets out of the counter strike and then immediately throws down the public execution to cover the distance.
Now on the bot line, Paranoia coming through, but Headbutt keeps the tether on, and because of that, he's going to be rooted down. Dutch is going to get taken away. Campo!
You got your AD carry killed, my guy. Yeah, I mean, he headbutted him closer, so the tether stayed on. That is just really unfortunate for the FBBQ bot lane. And now, I mean, Conceit can get some more camps back, because it does seem like we're starting to get a bit of a split map here with Venom taking those topside camps away from Conceit. Campo might get dove here. If he dings level 6, then I think the call is off. But if he doesn't...
Yeah, for now, they're still going to be walking forward. Has the extra heal. And now Duck actually here could be looking for Rainy Days as Pengu takes a decent amount of damage there. No one goes down somehow in that engage. A lot of people getting glow as now Night Ravens is going to be jumping out, but they're coming in from behind. Venom is here. No Cataclysm this time, but Night Ravens will jump away, will get hit up by the Flag and Drag. Grandmaster at Arms gets a little bit of extra defense as the flash forward will come through as Nute gets another kill and the Feat of Warfare. And now Ratchet is going to be hit by the Spiraling Despair, but no follow-up damage there. Just going to be used to zone.
Yeah, Nute baiting out those cooldowns, particularly the counter strike. So Night Raven, I have to imagine it was almost up, but the time wasn't there, and he does get taken down yet again. So the Jack's really starving in this game. Not only is he 0-2, but he's also 20 CS down compared to the Ambessa. So the final boss playing around the top side like we said they should in the draft very well. Spearheaded here by the Jarvan, and now the reward going to be the grubs and a lot more tower plates here in the future of the Ambessa.
Yeah, and I mean, that is going to be the first plate going over as well, so even more gold towards Nute. So at the very least, cross map, they are going to eventually trade those objectives. The Dragon as now Hex Slash over the top, Campo headbutt onto Ratchet, Pulverize there to follow. Do they have the damage? The Ratchet still full HP, going to unleash power on a Paradox. Just needs a little bit more Flag Drag, Flash Cataclysm as Venom's going to be on a killing spree.
It's a pretty costly
on the bot lane.
Is still secured. Okay, can they do this?
Pop Blossom is going to be there, but right now, Duck actually really healthy. Pengu's taking the turret and will be going down. Paranoia, though, in the bot lane did just level up, has the extra HP, looking for the trade, and won't be able to get the kill in a Rainy Days.
It was almost a 2-for-1, but I think Final Boss will easily settle for that 1-for-1 with how much time, gold, and spells were invested into taking down Duck. That is worth it any day of the week. As Paradox, you can see getting another plate, greeting for the wave, and now might get punished. Does have flash though.
Yeah, Conceit's gonna be there, gonna get that unspeakable horror over top, but we'll just get the flash from Paradox. Unleash power not up for Ratchet, so gonna be difficult to make this play happen, even with the flash available.
Yep, so Paradox getting away, has to burn that summoner spell, but will escape with his life. Not really paying attention a lot to Paradox, though. Really looking at Nute and really looking at Venom here in this game. This Jarvan, who was given the task of being as omnipresent as possible on this Jarvan, has been doing just that. 4 out of 5 KP, 3 of those kills, and already rocking that Sundered Sky. So a big item advantage there for the jungler of FBBQ. And then the Ambessa as well.
Yeah, now Grandmaster at Arms is going to be procced. Conceit is in the area. No paranoia, though. So this is just a winning trade so far. Not going to be able to bait back enough for Conceit to join in on the fight. So everything said and done, I think this was just to push in the lane, but now Unspeakable Horror is going to be coming through. Venom is here. Cataclysm still not up. Very low cooldown left as Night Raven's trying to walk this out, and with the counter-strike, we'll be back out of safety, but not even going to be able to get the lane shove he wanted.
And now he really has to run away as the Cataclysm is there for Venom, so you have to mind your distance from this Jarvan as Campo
but now
going in.
Campo actually gonna use the Unbreakable Will, but Pengu gonna be dealing damage over top, as in the meanwhile Conceit is getting dove upon, will be able to get the shutdown, as in the backline public execution gonna go through, as Campo will be going down in the bot lane. So cross map 2 for 1 in favor of WiWiWi Cat, and they're getting back on the play here. Ooh, Doug also gonna get struck down. Not enough damage there, but will force out the barrier.
And now they're going to get another play. They probably won't be able to get the tower, but, you know, all things considered, the WiWi Cat bot lane, for not having grubs, they have really been, I think, getting the better of Duck and Campo in these 2v2s, leveraging that double range and utilizing that poke to make it so difficult for the 2v2 to respond on the other side.
Now in the mid lane, Paranoia coming through. Paradox gonna be the target. Scatter of the week will just land, but the slow coming from Spiraling Despair might have been enough. Ratchet TPing forward will be able to get the kill, but Venom immediately gonna trade that back. So flash burned and 1-for-1 trade overall.
I feel like WiWi Cat's probably breathing a sigh of relief that they were able to get Paradox, even though it was a pretty expensive kill. Ratchet having to expend his own flash. They will pick that one up, and hey, the Cinder gets the first of their game, first kill of the game, or of their game. So good for them, as Dragon has stood up all this time. We can see both teams are materializing around this part of the map, but most notably, Rainy Days and Conceit cut off from their bot lane as the Tribush. They don't have control of that at the current moment.
Yeah, but if we're looking at the big winner right now in the game, it is going to be Venom and Pengu for their respective teams. And Pengu, 1,400 gold over Duck right now. This Sivir is so strong. Got a couple kills, got 4 plays, getting close to all 5 and the first turret of the game. So this is going to be a very scary Sivir. It is one that scales well into the late game, but no real front line to stand behind, which could be an issue.
Right, exactly. And really, we talked about the lack of engage here for WiWi Cats, but I also think the same is true for their disengage. You've got the same tools that can start up a fight are the same tools you're going to have to use to get a final boss away from you. So if you're not careful with that scat of the week, if you're not careful with that Pot Blossom and that counter strike, then they could easily find themselves with no way to defend this Sivir. And I do think that's what Final Boss are going to be looking at here in this game. If they can't get the engage, they can just try and bait out all of these tools that will expose the Sivir and give them a free window to collect on that kill.
Yeah, and right now it does seem like both teams are just talking about getting that first turret of the game. Night Ravens even using the Grandmaster at Arms to kill the wave in the top side so they can pressure more in the bot lane. And now on the hunt, gonna get used. Pop Blossom in the back line as now Duck having to flash away, and that is gonna be first turret of the game. I'm not even sure who that went to, but the team fight right now, Rainy Day is gonna be the first to go down. Campo to follow as Night Raven also super low. Public execution is still up, and Paradox also here in the back line looking for Ratchet. Won't have the extra follow, but Venom will, and the snipe from Paradox. It is gonna be another kill, and it looks like first turret actually went to Final Boss Barbecue Chicken because they're the ones that got the feats.
Yep, they got the upgraded boots, and Venom is just bloodthirsty on the bot side. He flashes for that kill. He gives no space for Ratchet to try and escape, so they are going to get those couple of kills, most notably Pengu falling in that fight, the Sivir going down, and that gold being collected does mean that WiWiCats, their win condition bleeding a little bit into this game. Now Dragon, the second one of the game here, likely going to be claimed by FBBQ.
Yeah, as Rainy Days was there trying to look like a threat, but Venom not going to get fooled, will be able to just secure the first Dragon of the game for Final Boss BBQ Chicken. As now they're also getting the mid lane turret super low, and once again, looking over the CS numbers, the solo laners of Final Boss BBQ Chicken, they're just winning out so hard in these matchups. Yes, they have the Sivir in the bot lane 2-1-2, 50 CS over Duck, but everywhere else, it's all going the way of Final Boss.
Yeah, you just need right now the mid turret is very much so standing on stilts for the side of WiWi. I think all you need is a bat or a living battering ram, aka Shelly, to open that part up for you, and then you get a lot more pressure up on that top side where that Otacon will be spawning in about 4 minutes. So it's still a ways away, but if you can get that neutral objective, turn that into a tower, you really help yourself to extend that vision line and get some of these picks onto the WiWi members who face check or look to contest you on the Otacon.
Yeah, but they are going to be picking their way onto the Rift Herald right now. They know they have the priority in the top side. In fact, they could be looking for more here as Campo gonna get the pulverize, looking for the headbutt as well to Night Ravens, and the stun is going to be there onto Campo, so the trample will have to be flashed in order to get a public execution. Actually going to get dove, but the Bessa gonna flash forward anyways. Rainy Days, once again, they're just going to continue looking for Duck, and they'll use so many abilities, they'll get them, but it's still a trade cross map as Rainy Days almost goes down to the tier 2, and now Venom from the side might be able to get enough. Just needs one more auto cataclysm instead, making it look good as Rainy Days gets dunked. But the fight's still not over. Pulverize is there. Trample gonna get spell shielded, so Pengu with the flash gonna be able to get back out of safety.
Poor Rainy Days. I mean, the man was like, he's like an ant, and instead of like, you know, stepping on him or like crushing him or doing anything normal, I think Venom did the equivalent of bringing a bazooka out and just nuking the poor ant that was on life support, for lack of a better term. As now this tier 2 maybe will be on life support here, as WiWiCats will try to defend it but will not be successful. Toki.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a ton of gold going towards Final Boss BBQ Chicken. I mean, that's going to be another 3k in their favor, and having that mid tier 1 and tier 2 down, it makes defending this jungle so much harder for WiWiCats. As Campo might have been looking for an angle, but the rest of the team seems to be calling back. They're sitting on a lot of gold. They have a lot of upgrades, as the recall coming from Nute going to get interrupted, but definitely still the hard winners of that last skirmish.
I like how Nute was perfectly okay with the Nico just going for that reset right next to him. It's like when you go to the bathroom and then someone else is like in the urinal next to you. You see the feet below. You're just like, okay, this is a bit awkward, but I'll accept it, right? So does get that back canceled, but won't mean anything at the end of the day. Dragon's still up in about 1:40, so objective gold currently here for FBBQ. I have to believe that they'll be the first to the bot side river, and I should be able to claim the second dragon. WiWi don't really have a reason to contest it. It's only the second one.
Yeah, definitely not, but you never know, they might decide to go for it anyway. I mean, they do have a 2-item spike right now onto Pengu, and maybe even a pick off onto Campo. They will be able to get that fear, but Unbreakable will gonna be forced out. Now the Tangle Barbs are gonna be there to return, so Unbreakable will being down for Campo, that does open up something for WiWiWiCat.
I mean, they have to use that Unbreakable Will ahead of the fight. I don't know if it'll be up for Campo, but it will definitely be close. If WiWiCat can start up a fight the moment that dragon spawns, then maybe they can... Oh, okay, I thought that was the real one.
Nope, just a clone, just a clone.
It was me, Nico.
Yeah, but Night Ravens coming in from the side. Paranoia as well. It looks like they're the ones that want to fight. Paradox is not here. Pulverize is going to be on it too. And there's no Unbreakable Wall, so Camel is going to get deleted. And they're going to find Duck once again in the backline. But now it's still 4v2 left. As Nute jumping in the backline. Paradox is going to be here now. Is in the backline. Venom going to get one kill. Looking for more. And Conceive's going to go down. Venom is still alive. Nute with the double kill. and that was just the support. Nico Paradox just gonna be auto-attacking it down, and it's an ace for final boss barbecue chicken.
And it's some main character energy coming out from Venom. He goes into all the members of WiWiWi Cats, but he is not afraid. He stares them in the face, and he manages to survive the entourage of damage delivered his way. Nute and Paradox are there to support, but they're only the supporting cast. This Prince Jarvan is the king of this game.
Yeah, and the fact that Venom was able to just take out Pengu, that's where all their gold is right now in WiWiWi Cat. And after that, they just had no damage. I know the gold lead's massive, almost 6k towards FBBQ. They got 2 dragons, and we're even seeing the bounties now coming on board. You know that spells disaster for WiWiWi Cat.
And it gets worse. Toki, Otacon has spawned on the top side. You can see that WiWiWi Cat, they're looking to clear out vision, get closer to that pit. Campo, some Alistar shenanigans. The mad cow disease taking over a little bit.
Yeah, just feeling very confident. I mean, why shouldn't he? He's had so many good plays this game. Had the one headbutt at the start that killed Duck, but other than that, has had a pretty clean game. Has found a lot of plays for the team.
You just know in the Discord after the game, that's all they're going to be talking about. Win or lose. It's moments like that that you clown on your teammate for. As seems like final boss. No one yet pulling the trigger on the Otacon, but I do think that's because mainly for the side of final boss, they don't have control of the waves. You can see that Duck, Yunara being all alone is being extremely cautious about pushing up on that mid lane, because there are so many different ways that WiWiWi Cats can jump onto them, right? That paranoia being the most prominent. So they do have to be very careful with how they inch up toward this objective, even though, like you said earlier, they are a ton of gold ahead.
Yeah, but this is where dreams come to die. This is where games come to be thrown. The biggest throw objective of the entire game of League of Legends. I mean, it's really reminiscent of like early seasons Baron. You see so many teams overstaying, but instead, public execution in the backline. Ratchet trying to flash, but it doesn't matter. Nute just had more than enough damage to secure that kill. And with Ratchet gone, now they can safely just push in and take this Otacon.
Yep, that's literally the only thing they needed. Pick off one, move on to the objective, and now WiWiWi Cats really have no way of contesting this objective. They don't have a blue ward available, so even if you wanted to go for like a paranoia steal, that wouldn't be possible. So they're gonna go through a teleport.
Yeah,
coming through, and Bessa's not
is
here.
Gonna be flashing back. Conceit trying to move forward, trying to get into range for the smite. Won't be able to get it. Is going for blue team, but Paul Blossom in the backline lands on a 3. Right now it's a 1-for-0. Duck and Paradox though still trying to deal damage. Venom trying to get away, is gonna be in danger. Nightwave gonna get that shutdown as Pengu gonna be able to take out Paradox, and I think they may have TP'd a little bit too early on Nute.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, Nute having to TP means that Night Raven can go up toward the top side, and it's a 4v4. They're fighting on even footing, but it's not even that, because that Otacon was dealing all the damage to the final boss member, so their health bars were worse for wear. This gave WiWiWi Cats the opening to go for that fight, and they took it as far as they could have. They'll take the top side tower tier 1 for their efforts. So it's a bit of a consolation prize. The gold lead still in the possession of FBBQ, but they do close it a good amount with winning that exchange, particularly Night Raven and Conceit getting a couple of kills in their department. And like you said, Pengu already has been touted as the win con for this team. So if you can make your top side strong on top of the scaling that you have from your AD carry, that does mean you have a pretty good damage profile going into this next dragon fight in about a minute and a half.
Yeah, 100%. And kind of to add upon what you said with that Otacon fight, though, that could have gone much worse for FBBQ as well. It was a clean 50-50 to who got the Otacon, and it was actually Paradox who got the last hit. It was no smite that came through. If WiWiWi Cat were able to steal that, I think the game would have just straight up been even at that point, as Campo may have gone in the wrong direction, but will be able to clear out this ward. The next fight gonna be starting in a minute. Dragon's gonna be up soon, and gonna be interesting to see if this time around Final Boss Barbecue Chicken will have a bit of a cleaner fight.
Yeah, WiWi, I think, really figuring out what they need to do in terms of order of operations for who goes in. We saw a big pop blossom there from Rainy Days, and I feel like for FBBQ, that's gotta be who you aim for, and it looks like that will be the case.
Yeah, forced to flash away. Public execution actually going to find Pangu of all people. Pop Blossom though does land onto 3, but Duck trying to run them down. Same with Nute, and they're just gonna get 3 with a wave as well. As actually Rainy Days might be able to get away. Conceit flashing away, but Nute still continuing the follow. Will be able to get the kill, and now they're gonna be looking towards Night Ravens, who actually goes back in, looking towards Duck. Will get finished off. Ratchet is the last survivor of the team, alone in the backline, as now Spiraling Despair does land. Does Paradox have the damage? Yes, he does. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I think they just win the game.
They just win the game out of the most random pick onto Pangu that was intended for Rainy Days. We will get no trilogy in week number 4 of the AML. It will be a 2-0 stomp. Thanks for watching. FBBQ move up in the Piltover standings. I
mean, I still can't believe how that game ended. Like, not at all. We were talking about Campo, right? Getting that one headbutt that ended up killing Duck at the start of the game. Rainy Days with that catch out just lost them the entire game. And I mean, Rainy Days is just trying to ward. There was no way Rainy Days is that fault for the fact that the public execution goes under the backline, but that is how that play started. And with that, it is that 2-0 like you said, and they're just going to get themselves that extra space between the top 3 and the bottom 3. So Final Boss BBQ Chicken definitely super happy after that win.
Yep, now moving up to 3-1, I believe. So really good performance here by Final Boss. And like you said, that gorge between the top 3 and the bottom 3 just continues to grow. It looks like it's going to even get worse, because I'm looking at the Piltover standings right now, and I see both Hextech Hackers and Dorado Gaming G are at 3-1. So they both won their games as well. It means that there is a huge divide between 3rd and 4th place at this moment. So yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a question of who is going to be in the 4th through 6th spots here for the Piltover standings. But still, really looking forward to seeing what Final Boss can do. I feel like a lot of their wins in this game were extremely quick. Like, they won out of the most minute advantages, and they managed to take it home. No more evident by how that game 2 ended.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But it is also a mark of a strong team where you are able to just close out games when you are given those small advantages, when you are given those opportunities. They didn't hesitate. They just went straight for the throat. Now, Game 1 definitely was a bit of a slower ending, but it was still methodical. It was still very clean coming out of FBBQ. So they're definitely showing themselves to be one of the top teams, at least in this division. So gonna be really interesting to see how much further they can get in AML.
Yeah, for sure. Because it does seem like, you know, what we said at the beginning of the stream, the standings are heating up, right? Like, this is week 4, and there's basically 5 weeks of regular season before we start getting to like tiebreakers and deciders and big playoff stuff in week number 6. So for a lot of teams in WiWiCat's position, next week is basically, you know, live or die, I feel like, at that point, because it's no longer in your hands what happens if you fail to perform in that last week. It's basically up to fate and the top team's choking. So I do think that WiWiCats, obviously they're a team that has one more game in them this week. They are playing on Thursday. So if they win that one, they'll go up to 2-2, and maybe will be able to close that gap a little bit more, give them some hope going into week number 5. But yeah, it's very clear that Final Boss BBQ Chicken came here to play. They came here to stomp, and they did both those things, Toki.
Yeah, and unfortunately with that, though, we are going to have to call it a day here at AML. Was a ton of fun, was a great game to watch, but before we close out, once again, got to give a quick thank you over to our friends at Zen Market. And Zen Market is your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops in Japan, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. They even consolidate all your items safely into one box and can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by 2 million users worldwide. Check the panel below the stream or click the link in the chat to try them out now. And if you sign up with promo code Aegis, you'll get 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. And if you decide to make a purchase on Zen Market, use code AEGIS25 to get 25% off your first purchase. Thank you, Zen Market, for sponsoring us. Thank you all for watching tonight, and we'll see you next week.
Bro, just use Zen Market.